Welcome to the Inspirational Book Club. My name is William Porter, the host, and this edition is going to be a podcast and it's brought to you by Every Dot Black Entrepreneurs Network. And I'd like to welcome all of our participants, and some people will be coming in a little bit. In the Inspirational Book Club, we've been discussing stories in the book Heaven Can't Wait, or Can It? The sequel. This is the second novel in a series of novels about interpersonal relationships. And our last meeting, those of you who were in our last meeting, you would remember that we broadcast from San Antonio, Texas. And we had Dr. Lee Bleemaster, the Director of Operations and Professor of Geosciences at Trinity University in San Antonio, come to us and tell us about a little of San Antonio's history, as well as the famed Riverwalk, one of the major tourist attractions in San Antonio. But we were there, Yvonne Panya and I were in San Antonio, Texas last time to witness the solar eclipse. And that occurred, of course, on April the 8th. And he talk to us about the solar eclipse as well, Dr. Lee Master. And so in this meeting, we're going to revisit San Antonio, and we will have a video of the Riverwalk. It's a short video, as well as a video of the eclipse. And then we will, as usual, log off and then log back on, and then we'll have a story review of the discussion we've been having of a story in the sequel, and then we'll have an audio text of the story. And the last thing we'll do will be asking questions, hopefully, and giving testimonies as far as what God has done in our lives. And then we'll conclude the meeting. So, the first thing that we'll do in this meeting will be to see a video of the Riverwalk, just as a revisitation of what we did the last time. So hang on, and this is what we're going to have right now. Okay, that was the first video. So now we're going to see the second video, which will be information on the solar eclipse. And so here is this video. But right now, as I said, we were in San Antonio last meeting, and we were able to experience the total solar eclipse in that city. San Antonio was on the edge of the path of totality, which means that the moon was in the path between the earth and the sun, causing a shadow in San Antonio. But San Antonio, as I said, was on the edge, and so there was only 1 minute of totality where there was darkness. Further west, there was more time in darkness, but anyway, it did get dark. And so let me show you what we saw, what we experienced as far as the Great American Eclipse of 2024. So I took some pictures, and these are the pictures. Now, what I did, the time of totality was 1:34 in the afternoon, when it was supposed to have gotten the darkest, where the moon covered as much of the sun as it was going to cover, which was total. But as I said, it didn't last but about a minute. And so I started at intervals starting at 12 noon and then 12:30. I took a picture, and then 1 o'clock, and then 1:30 I took a picture, and then 1:34 I took another picture at the time of totality, and then 2 o'clock I took a picture, and then 2:30, and then 3 o'clock it was over, I took a picture. So these are the pictures that I took. Now this was at 12 o'clock, and it says 12:30 here, but I believe it was 12 o'clock. But at any rate, at that time, afternoon, and the eclipse actually started at 12:15, but it was still light. It was overcast sky, but it was still light. So So anyway, this is how it looked at 12:30. Now at 1 o'clock, this is how it looked. It was still a lot of daylight, even though it was overcast. It was cloudy, but there was a lot of daylight. Here is at the 1:30 time, and you may be able to recognize the fact that it did get a little darker at 1:30, but it was still not as dark as it was going to get a few minutes later. So this is how it looked at 1:30. We still have 4 minutes to go before we hit the time of totality at 1:34. Okay, now this shot here was taken at 1:34. And as you can see, it was very dark at 1:34, the time of totality. As a matter of fact, it was as dark as it would get any time at night. You can see the lights in the buildings are on, and over to my left in this picture, you can see a portion of the street lighting and vehicle lights and whatnot. So this was at 1:34, the time of totality. I took another picture before the end of the time of totality, which was 1:34, and it was probably 1:34 and maybe 30, 40 seconds. I don't know. But anyway, again, the second shot that I took during this time of totality, when it got the darkest, it was still dark, and you can see the lights on in the buildings, especially that building over to my right, and also there's a clear shot of the street over to my left, just beyond where my finger is pointing, and you can see other buildings with their lights on. So it was just like nighttime. But the thing is that it lasted only for 1 minute. Only about 1:34. By 1:35, 1:36, it started to get much lighter very dramatically. This is the way it looked at 2 o'clock. So by the time it got to be 2 o'clock, you can see that it had gotten much lighter. The time of totality had passed from that 1:34 mark. So it got to be light again very, very quickly. By 2:30, you can see that again it was getting lighter. Not quite as light as it ordinarily would be at that time during the day, even though it was an overcast situation in San Antonio. But some people were able to see the moon covering the sun at that time of totality, even though it was a cloudy situation, because there were some breaks miraculously at that time. I believe it was, I don't know whether it was 1:33 or 1:34 or maybe shortly after, but there was enough break in the clouds where people could actually see the eclipse. And of course they had their glasses on and everything. All right, and then finally, the last picture that I took. And so by 3 o'clock, it was just like it was at 12 o'clock and 12:30 during the middle of the day in San Antonio. So this is a progression of how it looked at the various times when we were in San Antonio. And again, just to realize the transition between darkness and light during a total eclipse. This was 3 o'clock, what it normally looks like in the early afternoon, versus this situation, the way it looked at the time of totality, right at 1:34, when it was darkest. So that was quite a transition. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Paul, you might want to make some comments on that. I think I heard that someone said that at that time of totality, birds started to act strangely. And that's basically what I've heard, that animals tend to act in in a strange way when it suddenly gets dark, because their pattern of behavior is different when it's dark as opposed to daytime. So, okay, so anyway, that is what we experienced. And by the way, we were on the rooftop of the hotel that Panya resided in San Antonio. I think it was the Hilton, wasn't it, Panya? Uh, and so we had a very good shot of the downtown area, what it looked like during a total eclipse, and that's what we experienced. Panya, do you have any words to say before we go on a break and log off and log back on about the eclipse?
No, sir.
It was a grand experience. There's no doubt about that.
Grand experience.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Listen, I'm going to try to bring this video up of the eclipse the way it's described in the video. For some reason, it did not play earlier. I wanted to show you that before I show you these pictures. And of course, Panya, you were there, so you experienced, although your focus was on the eclipse itself. And you had your glasses on, and it was really a miraculous situation. The fact that there was a break in the clouds right at that time of totality, wasn't it?
That is a testimony. It wasn't exactly at totality when the break was in the clouds, but I would say I saw maybe about it. The clouds broke 3 times so I could see the transition into totality. Maybe the first one was like the sun was like maybe 10% covered, and then the next time the clouds were parted, the sun was maybe like close to, I want to say 50% covered, and then the last time I saw it, it may have been 3/4 covered, and
Right.
It's not exact, but the 3 times I saw it, that's in general the progress of time and the minutes that went by. But it was very miraculous because it was the forecast was cloudy. It wasn't mostly cloudy or partly cloudy. It's supposed to be just totally cloudy. And I don't remember seeing the sun, or maybe I just didn't pay attention to it outside of that point. But in my eyes, my prayers were answered. I saw the eclipse. I'll be specific about it being total next time, but something similar. It similarly happened like that in South Carolina. It's just that the storm totally went by, so we were anticipating the storm being around during the eclipse, and the storm passed by before the eclipse, so the sky was pretty clear afterwards. But it was great. God answered my prayers.
It was a grand experience, and from my standpoint, I was actually more interested in the contrast between the lightness of the day before the time of totality versus how dark it got at the time of totality. And the only thing is that it lasted only for 1 minute, because
I actually didn't think about the lights. I didn't think about the lights coming on. I guess that, I don't know to say it took away from the experience or not, but that's what happens when it's dark and we were in the city. But the lights really illuminated, especially up on the rooftop where we were. That was a very active roof. Maybe if we were on a roof that did not have a lot of lights on it, we wouldn't have seen it. But either way, it's such a short time. You have to really know exactly what you want and focus on it. Because it's just so happened when I saw the sun, I wasn't looking for birds, but I did see birds flying around in circles when I was looking up, looking for the sun. Now, I don't know if that could have been a normal pattern, but I'm thinking that maybe they sensed that something wasn't right or something wasn't normal, I'll say.
Right, right. Yeah, it was a grand experience, and people were cheering and everything. And so, and of course, in this video, it talks about that kind of almost spiritual kind of experience that people have. So anyway, it's about 6:30, so we're gonna log off, then log back on, and I'm gonna try to put this video up between the time we log back on. And as a matter of fact, I'll give you about a couple of more minutes to log on. I think it's about 6:28 now, so you can log back on around 6:35 instead of 6:30. Usually we'll log it back on at 6:30, but you can log back on at 6:35, and hopefully I can have the video back on, and hopefully it'll play this time. And not only that, but we'll see the audio text of the story that we're discussing as far as the sequel.